What's good? We're going to talk about communication between alters. Happy October. I know I'm guzzling beer like a fish. How about any of you? Probably isn't good to, but beer's beer, and I like beer. So, this right here is what the conduit wishes she could look like to appease us. And I wish she could look like that too, but she just won't put the fork down, so what are you gonna do? Force her to, maybe. Anywho, this is, okay, so basically she thought we were all imaginary friends. Not imaginary friends, but like, that would be even more tragic than it already is. But, she thought we were characters in a novel she was going to write, and she thought talking to them in her head was normal, and us giving her advice on how to not screw up in life was normal. Like, ring-a-ding-ding, it wasn't. And this is one of the characters that didn't make the cut, I guess, didn't really form into an alter. This is Noir's sister, Lacey Lucy. She models for an alternative magazine. Pretty kinky stuff. And this is my half-brother, Noir. I have to say, she does a pretty good job drawing. If I were to give her any kind of credit, it would be towards these. I mean, look at that. He has a little bit more muscle on him, but that's the gist of him when he's in full incubus form. And now, our fashion. My brother and I, my identical twin brother, Ichi, who is the sweetest thing you will ever meet, ever. This is pretty kinky. Nah, but it's like strappy and possibly latex boots with leather strap pants and leather straps on the midriff. And this, it's chains and strappy leather. And it looks like a tied bandana. And this is sick though. This right here, I dig it. Like, no lie. We're actually international fashion models, my brother and I, and we could rock a garbage bag. That goddamn cat, I swear. And this is kind of like sophomore year of high school. She drew a picture of my brother and his sweet self. What do you want? Leave me alone. Get. This could be either of us. Probably me, more of a stone face. Yeah, this is definitely me. Like, for sure. Still had some skills to develop back then, but this one's pretty chill. The tail encompassing my body. Pretty chill. And I know there was like a really good one, which is rare for me to say about any of her stuff. How big was it? So like I'll find something. So, like, oh shit. Huh. You should check this shit out. My brother and I in the conduit as she sees herself. Kinda surrounded by hellfire or some shit. Which is not to say she's going to hell. We don't get into all that, I don't know, afterlife shit. How can I do this one? This is the one I wanted to show. Look at that shit. Like, look how gorgeous I am. Like, hot damn. But anyway. Communication. The way we communicate is in our head. I mean, where else? I don't quite care for the question. But, oh, what the hell is this? Nice. Yeah, I don't quite care for the question, but I'll answer it because right now I'm not even feeling like OSDD1BT. I have my stories, but I'll get there at a different time. How we communicate. So, a lot of people say they have like malls or a mansion or a house or like as sections within their head that they have their altars in when they're in their headspace. Us, it's just like a dome, like straight up dome. We can see out our eyes when we're not present, when we're not there. Can you get out? Get out. But yeah. Great. Now I'm gonna look like a cat abuser. I'm just not fond of them. I don't abuse them. I just prefer that they're not up in my face. And that cat, don't let it fool you, it is a dog. It comes when its name is called, it plays fetch, and right now it is running around in the background, acting like a tool. The conduit will come along and give it all the love it needs. So, anywho, communication. Yeah, it's like talking to an angel and a devil on your shoulder, like your conscience, except we're not necessarily, it's not necessarily a good voice, it's not necessarily a bad voice, it's just other people in your head. And some people might be like, oh, well, why not schizophrenia if you're hearing voices? And funny story, we actually got a flimsy-ass diagnosis of schizophrenia after 1 week in a psych ward. First of all, only 1 week, so, and it was based off of one event, which I did, so I guess here's a little bit of tea. I guess I'll end up doing it anyway. So we went to the psych ward, and straight up, everyone was in there, and they started getting checked out one by one, and it was late at night, and everyone had checked out. Like, the waiting room was empty, and I was there. I'd been there for hours, and people would come in and out of the door, but there were staff members, and no one was there to talk to me to tell me anything. And hours later, this doctor comes out like, hey, sorry about it being such a long wait. And I'm like, that's all you're gonna say to me? No. So, they had metal detectors, but I had snuck past with this metal from the mask, the bridge of your nose part. I had snuck that in and put it in my sock like a little shank. And after he apologized and walked out, soon he would come back and let me in. And I was like, you're gonna give me this shit, I'm gonna give you shit. So I took it and I started just, I mean, it was like all across my arm. And, well, her arm. I don't really like to call it my arm because it's fat. But yeah. So he came back and he's like, firstly, before he came back, I went up to the, and before the self-harm, I went up to the desk and I asked the lady, I was just fucking around, but I'm like, am I in hell? And she's like, no, go sit back down. And I'm like, fine, no sympathy, no nothing. Guess I'll just do whatever the hell I want. So I self-harmed, and the doctor came back and he's like, oh, guys, she's self-harming. What? She's self-harming? Like, how guilty the people at the front desk must have felt. But they were being assholes. I know it's their job to deal with stuff, but they could have handled it better. And I feel no sympathy for them. They weren't watching me as close as they needed to be, and I harmed myself. So, yeah, their fault, and they took me back. But before they took me back, he asked why I harmed myself. And I'm like, do you believe that this is hell? And he's like, nope. And I'm like, this is hell. This is, he's like, this is blah, blah, blah hospital. And I'm like, no, this is hell. And he's like, isn't hell with, like, fire or whatever? I'm like, everyone has their own personal hell. So that got me on the charge for schizophrenia. And also, I licked the blood off my arm to put on a show. So I threw a wrecking ball through that one. But, I don't fully believe, or at all believe, that we have schizophrenia. I think it's a disorder related to DID and OSDD1B. That's the one that, keep talking about. So, I believe that, and that's kind of the tea of how I was diagnosed schizophrenic, is I just screwed with them so hard. And